On December 16, 1773, 342 chests of British tea were thrown into the Boston harbor. This was known as the Boston Tea Party. Hi, I'm Donovan Mohannon, and welcome to Georgia Stories, the Boston Tea Party. As some of you may know, the Boston Tea Party occurred on December 16, 1773, and was performed by the Sons of Liberty. What happens on this day? What led up to it? And who are the Sons of Liberty?
Hi, I'm Quinn Randall, and with us today is Dr. John Randall. He will be discussing the Boston Tea Party with us. Mr. Randall, thank you for being here with us today. Our first question for you would be, why did the Sons of Liberty dump the tea into the Boston harbor?
Well, a series of acts were passed by the British which made the colonists nothing short of aggravated. These acts included the Stamp Act of 1765, which placed a tax on all documents used by American colonists, such as ships' papers, legal documents, licenses, newspapers, other publications, even playing cards. After that, there was the Townshend Acts of 1767, which put in place taxes on imports such as glass, lead, paint, paper, and tea. As these laws were already angering the colonists, the British passed another law in 1773, the Tea Act. This was a result of the boycotting of tea due to the Townshend Acts. This law limited the colonists to British tea, giving the British a monopoly.
Wow, very interesting, Mr. Randall. Now, can you tell me what events led up to these taxes?
The British passed these acts in response to the 7 Years' War, known in the colonies as the French and Indian Wars. These wars cost the British about £40 million, and the British government was seeking to regain some of the money expended in defense of the colonies from the colonists themselves.
All right, well, thank you for being here with us today, Mr. Randall. One quick question before you head out. Who are the Sons of Liberty, and what do they stand for?
The Sons of Liberty were a group of radical patriots that strived for American independence, the independence of the colonies from British rule. They stood for patriotism and the right to not be Britain's piggy bank.
Well, thank you, Mr. Randall. Be sure to tune in to Georgia Stories 3 on Georgia Public Broadcasting.
Wow. So it turns out the British were passing all kinds of taxes that were making people very mad. Now, what happened exactly that night? Some pictures depict all kinds of false tales. On that night, the Sons of Liberty made fake Indian gear, which they of course wore. They climbed aboard the British ships and dumped 342 crates of British tea into the harbor. While, of course, the acts like the Stamp Act annoyed them, the Tea Act is what set them off and made them perform this that night. With no one around, the perfect crime, right? Well, once the British found out they were punished, what happened exactly?
So with us now is Miss Elizabeth Starling. She'll be discussing the British reaction to the Boston Tea Party. So tell us, Miss Starling, what was the British reaction?
Well, after the Boston Tea Party, as you can imagine, the British were furious. They then established the Intolerable Acts.
Please elaborate.
Well, this established a few things. 1, the Boston port was closed until the tea was all paid for. Along with that, Massachusetts lost all control of their government to the British. It also enabled the transfer of accused royal officials to another colony, and the Quartering Act gave homes to British soldiers in America.
Well, thank you for being here. Please tune in to Georgia Stories 3 on Georgia Public Broadcasting.
Wow, that concludes our episode about the Boston Tea Party. I'm Donovan Bohannon, and this is Georgia Stories 3. Good night, Mr. Wilson's 7th period class.